No. Okay. Again, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for holding this very important hearing. I was at ENC, but the issue of Chinese influence on our domestic pharmaceutical supply chain is important for us lawmakers to understand, and we must consider targeted returns to counter this influence. Absolutely true. I've heard from constituent companies that struggle to stay competitive with Chinese companies due to misaligned incentives in our healthcare ecosystem. That's why I launched the American Made Medicines Caucus with Representative Carter and Representative Tenney. It's important that we pursue policies to incentivize domestic manufacturing, particularly as we face rising affordability concerns in the U.S. We've also seen safety concerns with many drugs made abroad. American patients should be able to access safe and effective American-made medicines without breaking the bank. Next year, the Energy and Commerce Committee, which I serve on, has the opportunity to pursue targeted FDA reforms through the prescription generic drug user fee reauthorizations. As a senior member of the committee, the Healthcare Subcommittee, I look forward to this critical work in the next few months. So my first question is for Dr. Beecroft. You have deep knowledge, sir, of the complex world of drug development. What are your recommendations to Congress to maintain our leadership in the biopharmaceutical space, either through FDA process or CMS reimbursement reforms?
So focus on the pieces I've talked around within my both written testimony and oral piece. I think that the thing that is the most critical for early stage discovery is that timeline to first in human data. Right? How does either an academic researcher or an entrepreneur or a hybrid of both take an idea and go from, I think this could work, this could change how we treat X disease, to now I know that it may work. I have human data in hand. Every animal model, every mouse, every cell culture in a dish will never, at least not in the next 5 to 10 years, be able to recapitulate the complexity of human disease to a way that it can get us an answer that the investment community will then stand behind it. And so there's, in my experience, 2 different major roadblocks to that. There is the regulatory pathway and how we get there, and I've in my written testimony laid out ways that I think the FDA could work hand in hand to simplify that process, to decentralize the process, maintain rigorous safety oversight and notification among the agency, while allowing institutional review boards or centralized IRBs, as the current director of the FDA has spoken about reform a number of times in the past months. If we're able to decentralize that approval to the first-in-human pathway, that would massively both increase the amount of clinical sites that we could do first-in-human trials at and decrease the cost and time to that data. The second piece of this puzzle is, especially for complex medicines, how and where are we going to manufacture them? I think that both how gets to what are the regulations around what do we need to know, what do we need to assay, what do we need to measure about these medicines to think that they're safe to put into patients as often a last-ditch effort to save these patients' lives. I think there's a lot of roundtable incentive that private industry and the FDA could get around to say what is the correct level of oversight for this GMP, what's called GMP, which is how these drugs are manufactured. That sort of oversight for our companies, and to create a more open dialogue so we can all learn together. A lot of the institutional knowledge around that manufacturing is locked inside of private companies. The FDA is doing their absolute best to keep up with it, but more dialogue, I think, would increase the rate of learning and allow the FDA to more effectively and work with companies to figure out what we need to do to make sure that we're putting safe drugs into patients. If we incentivize the build out of that small scale manufacturing here in the United States, usually geographically located somewhere near where we may be running clinical trials, that also massively increases the logistics, the efficiency of manufacturing to clinical testing, and it serves as a flywheel for private industry to continue to invest in the build out of domestic biomanufacturing. Once you have a manufacturing process set for that first trial, it is much more in your favor to continue building that out than to outsource as you get to a later stage and you need to make more drug or more diverse drugs. Once we start with that seed here for these advanced medications, we will then see that pay dividends into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very valuable information. Appreciate it. I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. I'll submit the rest of my questions for the record.